So it's been storming all morning. A little bit of thunder really early this morning, and I just heard another crack. And I thought, what an excellent day to be out here in the mess of things. Testing out the wool poncho here, which I'm going with. There's been a lot of suggestions on the name of the wool poncho, what we should call it. By the way, I'm sold out completely. Sorry. We've got more in production, but it's going to be a couple weeks probably till we make that happen. I'm going to be out of town, and we've got to wait on the wool material to be delivered, that kind of stuff. But they flew off the shelf almost like literally immediately. They were sold out. So, but I'm out here today, and I'm just doing a little bit more field testing with it. Obviously, I designed it to fit. Well, not obviously. I designed the thing to fit in conjunction with a rain poncho. So it's just barely smaller than a rain poncho, a mil-spec poncho. So you wear that over top of this to keep it dry. And this is like your insulating layer. But the beauty of wool is that it insulates even when it's wet to a certain degree. This is an 80-20 blend of wool and synthetics. So this is a perfect day to test it out. Nasty, dreary, rainy. It's not pouring down rain, but it's raining. I mean, it's a steady downpour. So it's an excellent day just to be out here dressed like I normally am. I've got a cotton t-shirt and I've got a wool long sleeve, like thin sweater basically. And I'm wearing my normal pants right there with my kind of standard rubber boots that I wear all the time. So I'm just gonna be busting brush here, pushing through the woods, testing my gear out, because I think that's super important, testing your gear out. Don't trust what I say. Go out and test your own gear. Don't trust anybody, really. I mean, you need to go out and see what works for you, because what may work perfectly for me in my environment may not work very well for you at all. I mean, I don't know. It's hard to say. So that's why it's so important to test things out. I mean, obviously, seek out resources, seek out individuals that you trust, and you can count on them to tell you the truth and not just try to sell you something. Like, the wool poncho is not a novel idea. I did not invent the wool poncho. Good grief. That's been around forever. I saw who was it? Clint Eastwood wearing one when I was a kid, His didn't have a hood. It just had a hole cut in the top, I guess a slit or whatever in his wool blanket or whatever. But the wool poncho's not new. So it's not a novel idea. I just thought it'd be really nice, because I'm a poncho guy, to use it in conjunction with my rain poncho. So those two things together make a pretty sweet little combo, in my opinion. And that's the way I camp, the way I use my gear. Typically, I think it's going to work just fine. It's going to be perfect. So I'm out testing my gear, just like I recommend that you guys test out your gear. Don't just take everybody's word for it. Don't take the expert's word for it. Go out and do your own experimentations. Learn as you go, What are the shortcomings? What are the limitations? Look at that water running down this one spot on the tree. And I'm working on the size and the fit and stuff of this poncho here, to ensure that it works. Might mess around with the measurements slightly in some degrees to make it fit a little bit better, work a little bit better. Like maybe if you're wearing a pack underneath it, make it a little longer in the back, perhaps. I don't know. Just experimenting, that's all. So I'm just out here in this nasty weather, just getting rained on, not using the rain poncho. Again, this is designed to be used with the rain poncho. But let's say in this situation, I don't have it. All I've got, the names. We were talking about names. All I've got is the Woolly. I thought was a good name. Just call it the Woolly. I was calling it the Survival Cape, but it just doesn't roll off the tongue quite as easy as Woolly. So if you were the subscriber that said Woolly, that was your suggestion. I appreciate that. Kind of like a woobie, poncho liner sort of deal, but made of wool, obviously. Thought that was good. A wancho. I really like the name, the wancho. I thought that was a good one. I really appreciate that. So the woolly or the wancho are kind of my top two contenders right now, just because of the simplicity of the name, and I kind of like them. Woolly, I kind of like the woolly, like woolly mammoth, the On3 woolly, the On3 wancho. Both are good. So those are my two choices. I'm narrowing it down to that. I'm gonna let you guys decide in the comment section on this video right here. Let me your votes. You get to vote for the woolly or the wancho. And if you were one of the subscribers that suggested those names, make sure you reveal yourself, and I'll pin your comment to the top. And but I want to know a vote: woolly or wancho. The winner in the comment section. That will declare the name, the official name of this wool poncho here. So I hope it continues to rain. I hope it picks up. Actually, I want it to downpour on me, so I can really give this thing a test, a good run for its money. Just kind of put this under my butt, sit on the wet log, just drape this over myself, and I could just sit here and wait it out, you know. No shelter really needed to be made. Just I'm wearing the shelter. And we've always talked about, you know, clothing being your shelter. Man, that's, oh my gosh, I'm falling down. Shelter. We've always talked about clothing being your, you know, your primary shelter. And I can't argue with that logic right there. If you're dressed appropriately for the weather, you don't really need much of a shelter, you know. You can just lay out in the open and don't worry about it. And that's how I like to camp anyway, you know. People like to spend a lot of time setting up their shelters and stuff, and I just like to spend time with everybody. When I'm out with groups of people, for example, I want to spend time with people. I want to be helping other people do things and stuff. I don't want to spend any time on myself setting up shelters. I just want to, at the end of the day, when it's dark, have my little campfire or not, and then I just want to lay down. And then camp is made. You know, this is me, camp setup. That's essentially it. And I think I've mentioned in plenty of videos before, I have a gift. I don't need much. I don't need a whole lot of accommodations to be comfortable. I just kind of lay down anywhere and fall asleep. Like this right here is a good spot. See where this log is laying? See that? And the leaf litter has kind of blown and piled up, and there's a thickness of leaves right there. With almost no effort whatsoever, I could just maybe do this, kick up a few extra leaves like that. A few extra leaves, remove some of the bigger sticks like that. And then without any extra effort whatsoever, my camp is made. A pillow is always nice. I've used rocks for pillows. I've used my boots for pillows. I've used a log for a pillow. You know, what really your pack, whatever you got, really doesn't really matter. As long as you got something to kind of elevate your head just a little, that makes a pretty big difference. But I could sleep right here, no problem. But you might require a little bit more accommodations. I don't know. I generally can just lay down pretty much anywhere. And like I said, I like to help out. I like to socialize with other people that I'm hanging out with. I don't want to spend, you know, all the time worried about myself, making sure that I'm going to be comfortable. Bring what you need, the minimum gear to be comfortable, to be warm enough to where you're not shivering through the night. And then just go out there and do the things. Worry less, do more. That's the slogan for the day. That's the quote of the day, friends. Worry less, do more. Oh, don't want to sleep near that. Look at that. That's a big, really tall, really dead, really heavy, man-crushing tree right there. You don't want to be anywhere near that. Just in general, really. I mean, because that's going to come down any day now, you know. It could come down right now, or it could come down 6 months from now. Hard to say. But, you know, I'm out here in the rain. I've been out here in the rain for probably 20 minutes, you know, give or take now. Hear that thunder? And I've been hiking around and walking around, not sitting still, but I'm super warm, like too warm. I don't know what the temperature is. It's not cold, but I'm too warm. I would want to shed this layer for sure and maybe just put on my rain poncho and to keep from sweating, you know. Not the beauty of this is that it's going to breathe, you know. It's not going to trap in the moisture at all, which is cool. The rain poncho, I like rain ponchos because they're loose and flowing and they allow, you know, the air to move around you, and any perspiration that you accumulate can have an opportunity to dry out. While it's not a breathable barrier, it's not tight and closed in like a rain jacket and rain pants and stuff would be. So for that reason, another reason why I like the poncho a lot. There's a really nice big deer scrape right there. Or rub, I should say. I always get them confused. Deer rub, deer scrape. Deer scrape is on the ground. Deer rub is that right there. Deer came in here with its antlers and went gave it one of those. That's what it was. That's a nice little spot right here, kind of a little cubby hole between this big oak tree, big jumbo oak tree. Big dead branch though, you want to watch out for that. Definitely don't sleep on that side. But right here, kind of a protected little area. Be a nice spot to set up camp perhaps for the evening. Nice little flat spot when there's no other flat spots around. That's another reason why I prefer small little shelters like a poncho. I mean, you could do it with a little tent, but generally speaking, tents they have a bigger footprint. And with a little poncho, or even just wearing your shelter like this, you don't need a big spot. There aren't really a whole lot of places to choose from in this area. It's steep. The terrain is steep. It's hard to tell on camera, I know, but I mean, you can see the angle that we're working with there. If I want to screw with you. Look how steep that is. But I won't do that. So you can see the trees, like this tree is fairly vertical right there, right? And you can see the steepness of the terrain around, and it's difficult to lay on that and sleep because you kind of just drift down the hill, roll down the hill, without modifying the ground significantly. So having a little spot like this that's semi-flat is pretty dang nice, actually. And there's not a whole lot of them, so that's why I like and they're not very big, and that's why I like really, really small one-man shelters. Even if I was camping with my family, generally I prefer each person to have their own little camp set up. It just blends into the environment a little bit better. It doesn't create such a dramatic effect on this one little spot, you know, and changing. Because if you spend any amount of time, you guys have probably seen this before, if you spend any amount of time in one single location, in one spot, human beings have a pretty dramatic effect on the terrain, you know, just walking. You can see where people have walked, and it takes a long time for that to kind of dissipate and go away, sometimes up to a year, depending on where you're at. Just human activity in an area for a 24, 48-hour period can have a long-lasting effect on the environment. But if you disperse yourselves a little bit, you know, that's just me. Like, I'm just weird like that, I guess. You guys let me know how you feel about that. But I like going into places. I don't like hiking on trails. I don't like camping in campgrounds. I want to go camp and hike and explore places that appear to have never been explored before. Now, I understand that that's difficult to come across for real this day and age, but it's still possible to go to places, to step foot in places that very few humans have ever been. And I love that feeling, and I want other people to experience that feeling too. So when I go to a place, when I camp in a place, and when I leave, I want it to look like I was never there. Because if I ever go back and visit, or another person goes and visits that place, I want them to have that same experience of being like, wow, I might be the only one that's ever been here. Or, you know, I'm the only one that's been here for 100 years. Like, I want it to feel like that. So I try to put as little scarring on the places that I've been as much as possible. Well, that's just me. You know, I try not to cut anything down that doesn't need to be cut down. I try not to modify. If I gather firewood, I try to burn it all or disperse it when I'm finished, and then kind of rake around my area and clean it up to some degree, so I can ensure that, you know, another person gets that same, you know, virgin ground experience. Man, I wish it was still pouring rain. It's still raining. You can see it's still raining, but I wish it was pouring down. The weather never cooperates. Generally, I want the weather to be worse, and the sun tries to come out. Jerk. The nasty weather never comes when you want it to. I'll make it rain, rainy. I'll just go around shaking trees and stuff until I get substantially wet enough. Get in here. We'll see how dry I am underneath this thing. I feel like I'm completely dry underneath this poncho. I don't think, I mean, like I said, I'm wearing a wool sweater underneath. You can see it's wet. See that? You can see my sleeves are wet because they're exposed just a little bit on the edges of the poncho. But I don't think my shoulders or my head or my torso, my mane, where all my guts are, I don't think any of that is wet at all. And that's, you know, like I said, I've been out here for 30 minutes now, probably. Walking around, jabbering on with you guys. But it's brightening up a little bit and it's not pouring rain anymore. We gotta continue the simulation. Gotta just run into every bush that I come across, get myself a little bit wetter. So when I'm looking for my super basic, you know, low profile shelter that requires no setup, I look for a little spot like this, you know, just a little protected area by this tree here perhaps. This side of the tree is fairly dry just because of the way that the tree's leaning. So this is a fairly protected spot. I would just remove some of the sticks, and I may or may not kick up some extra leaf litter right here, so I have something a little bit softer to sit on. But essentially, my camp is made, you know. I could sit here up against this tree, just leaning against this tree and just catch some Z's, you know, get a little bit of sleep. I could lay down and use this root here as my pillow. I know that seems strange perhaps to some of you that I would do that, but having that right there, just elevate your head just a little bit, makes all the difference. And I could sleep here all night. You know, obviously not as comfortable as your hammock or your sleep pad, your inflatable sleep pad with your, you know, 15-degree mummy bag and or your bed at home. Clearly not as comfortable as that, but it requires zero setup, and I don't know, that's just how I prefer it. Now, if I was going to be out here for days upon days, then yeah, I would make myself something a little bit more comfortable. But for a night, 2 nights even, there's really not a whole lot of need. In the comment section, guys, do me a favor and leave some video ideas for me. You know, it's always challenging to come up with new ideas and original stuff and things to talk about with you guys. So if you've got suggestions, you want to talk about something, you want to see me go do a thing, then leave that in the comment section. I'm always grateful. I'm always jotting down notes when I look through the comment section. I'm always jotting down notes of good ideas. I don't always get to all of them, obviously, but when time allows, that's something that I do. Now, something else I'm considering, since I have recently started Patreon memberships. I'm trying to decide, I have a balance between the content that I put on there for members only and continuing to put content out for you guys on YouTube, because you've been such loyal subscribers and followers for so long. I'm definitely not going to stop doing that. I'm going to definitely continue to do that. But as I put more and more effort and time into making these videos, you'd be surprised how long, even this video right here, that's not that difficult for me to shoot. I'm just walking around the woods. You'd be surprised how long it takes me to edit it, put it together, upload it onto YouTube, do all the behind the scenes stuff like video descriptions and all the stuff that actually really matters a lot. So you actually see it, because if I don't do all that stuff, there's a good chance that no one will see the video. That stuff takes a long time. And that takes away from other work that I could be doing out there, making money for my family or spending time with my family. So my time is extremely valuable, so I'm trying to find a nice balance, and I think most of you guys will understand that. Some of you have seen some comments about people, you know, getting a little bit offended that I'm doing Patreon memberships, but listen, my kids have to eat, so sorry. Sorry about that. I can't volunteer every hour of all of my days. I have to, earn some income in order to make life happen for my family. So I'm trying to find a balance. And one of the things that I've been mulling over in my mind to do specifically for members only is more of a long-term survival kind of experience, where I go out maybe, let's say, once a month, and I kind of simulate a long-term survival. I can't literally go out for months at a time because, like I said, I've got obligations, I've got family and that kind of stuff to take care of. I can't just run off into the woods. As much as I would enjoy that, I can't just run off into the woods for weeks on time because of reasons. But I can simulate that by doing, once a month perhaps. I head out into a wild environment, and I start with day one. And I say, well, this is what I would do day one if I was going to plan on living here forever. I would build myself some sort of encampment, a shelter perhaps, or whatever, find the water sources, that kind of thing. And I just continue that series, day one, day two, over the course of a year or whatever. And that would be possibly something that I would do on that Patreon subscription members only. And I'd give you guys on YouTube that don't have memberships probably some snapshots. I'll look into that. But something of that time investment that is really going to take some real time, because those kind of videos take forever to edit. That might be something that I keep kind of exclusively on Patreon. But you guys let me know what you think about that in the comment section, and I'd be really grateful for it. So I'm just going to sit out here in the rain a bit longer, guys, and I'm going to continue testing out my gear and check its performance and see how it holds up when it's really, really nasty, kind of like it is today. It's warm. I'm too warm, actually. But life is good. Thanks so much for watching, friends. I really do appreciate it. Put the link to the Patreon in the description of this video and in the comments section. Like I said, if you want one of these wool ponchos, there are none available at the moment, so you're gonna have to wait. I've got a pretty good sized waiting list. If you want to get on that waiting list, you can go ahead and email me and I can give you some information about that. But otherwise, it's going to be a little while till I get them back in stock. So until next time, friends, what's the worst that could happen? Let's just go on 3. How'd we do? Dry. I think I'm completely dry. I don't feel any wetness. Let's see what the t-shirt looks like. Anything? Bill of my hat's soaked, obviously. But my head is dry. Hair is dry. Completely dry. It's a win.
If you carry a firearm and discharge your weapon in self-defense, you could face hundreds of thousands of dollars in legal fees and expenses. So carry the protection of CCW Safe, Self-Defense Legal Services membership. Upfront payment of all criminal and civil defense costs with no out-of-pocket for members. Unlimited defense budgets, unmatched legal expertise. Carry the same level of support police officers have. Carry CCW Safe, the highest caliber.